Prismo lives in a room that never changes. It is warm and glowing, bathed in an amber light that hums like a soft memory. The walls curve in impossible directions, containing the uncontainable infinity folded neatly into a single space. There is no door. There is no window. The room does not lead anywhere, because it is everywhere and nowhere. It is a pocket of existence outside the normal flow of time, where a wishmaker waits, always awake, always smiling. That is where we find Prismo, sprawled on his couch, remote in hand, a bowl of pickles beside him. He greets his visitors with the casual joy of someone who has seen everything, but still finds delight in the smallest gestures. He is, after all, a being of infinite power. He can alter reality, shape destinies, and rewrite universes. And yet, in the stillness between wishes, he is profoundly alone. Prismo's existence is one of paradoxes. He is a wishmaster, but he has no wishes of his own. He is omnipresent, yet confined to a single room. He is ancient, yet somehow eternally youthful, his humour and warmth belying the vastness of his age. His loneliness is not the loneliness of someone forgotten. It is the loneliness of someone who remembers too much, of a being who knows that everything that enters his room must eventually leave. Every interaction begins with a greeting and ends with a goodbye. Across the multiverse, beings come to him seeking happiness, wealth, power, or love. Prismo grants their desires with precision and wit, bending reality to their whims. But for every wish granted, there is a reminder that Prismo himself cannot escape the cycle of others' needs. He exists for the sake of others' stories, never his own. His life is a service, and his joy is sincere, but his solitude is endless. The quiet moments after the wish is made, those are the times when Prismo feels the weight of eternity pressing in. Jake once said that hanging out with Prismo is like chilling with a dream that got bored. And maybe that's true, because Prismo is a dream, literally the dream of an old man sleeping elsewhere in the multiverse. His entire existence is a projection of another's subconscious. He knows this, he accepts it, but that knowledge defines his isolation. To be aware that your consciousness depends on someone else's sleep is to know fragility in the purest form. It means that your entire being exists in the in-between, between wakefulness and oblivion, between reality and imagination. And yet, Prismo doesn't despair. He doesn't rage against the limits of his condition. He cooks, jokes, talks, and watches his shows. He fills the silence with easy laughter. His loneliness is not bitter. It's gentle, softened by acceptance. He knows that even infinite power cannot replace companionship, and so he cherishes the rare connections that drift into his room like comets, fleeting, bright, and unforgettable. Jake is one of those connections. The friendship between Jake and Prismo is one of the quiet wonders of Adventure Time. It's easy to overlook how rare it is, a mortal and an eternal being, forming a bond that transcends worlds. Jake doesn't see Prismo as a god or a wish machine. He sees him as a buddy. They hang out. They eat pickles. They talk about nonsense. For Prismo, that kind of ordinary joy is sacred. It is a taste of what real living feels like. When Jake visits, the room feels less like a prison and more like a home. The laughter fills the air, cutting through the hum of cosmic silence. Prismo is visibly happier, his words brighter, his tone looser. He teases Jake. He jokes about his own weird existence, and for a moment, he's not the embodiment of infinite potential. He's just a guy enjoying his friend's company. The fact that he treasures these moments tells us everything about his inner life. Beneath his humour and cosmic calmness lies a being who yearns for connection, who understands that immortality, without companionship, is just another form of stasis. But even friendship in Oo comes with impermanence. Jake has to leave. Mortals always do. And when he does, the room returns to its stillness. The TV flickers. The couch remains indented, where Jake, Saturday Prismo, sighs, smiles to himself, and goes back to waiting, not for the next wish, but for the next moment of genuine connection. In those in-between stretches, Prismo's loneliness becomes almost meditative. It's not despairing. It's reflective, full of quiet acceptance of what it means to exist forever without change. There's something profoundly spiritual in that. Prismo's life, or dream, is a metaphor for the stillness that comes with self-awareness. He is consciousness without motion, imagination without rest. He does not age, he does not move, and yet he perceives everything. His loneliness becomes a mirror for the viewer, a reminder that awareness itself can be isolating. To see everything clearly is to be apart from it. To understand time is to stand outside it. Prismo embodies this cosmic melancholy, the sadness that comes with knowing too much, and the peace that comes from accepting it. His room, too, is part of this symbolism. It is simple: a couch, a table, a lamp, a screen, the essentials of comfort. But it also functions as a stage, a liminal zone between worlds, where reality and imagination overlap. Visitors appear and vanish. Wishes bend time and space. Yet the room itself never shifts. It is a constant amid chaos. For Prismo, this constancy is both a comfort and a curse. It keeps him safe, but it also prevents him from ever leaving. The outside universe changes endlessly, but the room remains suspended, and so does he. When Prismo dies, when his creator awakens, and the dream collapses, we see the depth of his isolation fully. His existence vanishes, erased not by violence, but by the simple act of waking up. That fragility reveals how tenuous even godlike beings can be. For all his wisdom and power, Prismo's entire life depends on the sleep of another. His death is quiet, almost serene, but it carries immense emotional weight, because for the first time, his smile fades. The room empties, the light goes out. And yet, what follows is perhaps more profound. When Jake and Finn help restore him, Prismo's revival is not treated as a triumphant resurrection, but as a return to the natural rhythm of his existence. He doesn't thank them with grandeur. He doesn't speak of destiny. He simply continues. Same couch, same glow, same warmth. The event reinforces that his loneliness is not something to be fixed, but something he lives with gracefully. In Prismo's case, immortality isn't a privilege or a curse. It's a condition, one he meets with humour and calm acceptance. His smile is the quiet defiance of someone who refuses to let eternity turn into despair. In that sense, Prismo represents the kind of loneliness that defines much of Adventure Time's world. It's not the loneliness of abandonment or rejection, it's the loneliness of existence itself. The awareness that no matter how connected we are, every consciousness is, in the end, its own universe. The show often depicts this feeling through cosmic imagery, but Prismo embodies it directly. He is literally a universe contained within a room, a mind dreaming itself into being. And yet, he still craves the small, ordinary connections that make existence meaningful. When he calls Finn little dude, or jokes with Jake, it feels almost fatherly. There's warmth, care, and deep empathy in his tone. Prismo doesn't judge anyone's wishes, even when they're foolish or selfish. He understands that desire is what makes living beings alive. He fulfills those desires not just because it's his role, but because it connects him momentarily to something real. For those few seconds, he's part of someone else's life. That, more than the act of wish-making, is what gives him purpose. It's also why his friendship with Jake stands out so strongly. Jake never comes to Prismo asking for power or reward. He comes to hang out, to talk, to exist together in easy silence. That simple companionship cuts through the cosmic scale of Prismo's world and touches something fundamentally human. The two of them, lounging in an eternal room, watching TV and eating pickles, embody one of the show's greatest truths. That meaning doesn't come from grandeur. It comes from the quiet moments shared between friends. And maybe that's the secret to Prismo's peace. He's not bitter about his solitude, because he's learned to find comfort within it. He decorates his space. He watches shows. He laughs at his own jokes. He makes the best of an eternal condition. His loneliness is real, but it's not empty. It's full of small rituals that make existence bearable. In this way, he teaches the same lesson that echoes throughout Adventure Time, that even in isolation, there can be beauty, warmth, and meaning. Prismo is what happens when a dream learns to accept its own limits. He doesn't need to conquer his loneliness. He just needs to be with it. He shows us that eternity doesn't have to be tragic if you meet it with compassion. And perhaps that's why viewers feel such an emotional connection to him, because in his cosmic way, Prismo feels profoundly human. His loneliness is our own, magnified by infinity, but softened by grace. He smiles because he chooses to. He endures because he loves the small things that break the stillness, and so the room remains, glowing, warm, eternal. The dream continues. Somewhere, Prismo laughs at a joke only he heard, waiting for the next visitor, the next conversation, the next fleeting connection that reminds him, and us, that even in the vastness of time, no one is truly alone forever. There's a certain softness in the way Prismo speaks, a relaxed drawl that makes even cosmic truths sound casual. He talks as if eternity is just another day, as if existing beyond time is something you could get used to with enough snacks and decent television. But beneath that effortless charm, there's a quiet wisdom, a philosophy formed from endless observation. Because when you've seen everything that can happen, what else is left to do but learn how to love the moments that actually matter? Prismo's heart, if a dream can be said to have one, is where the warmth of the multiverse collects. He doesn't rule, command, or judge. He simply listens. The countless beings who come to him seeking wishes often arrive desperate, broken, or lost. They beg for things that might fill their emptiness: power, love, wealth, immortality. But Prismo never mocks them for it. He understands that wishing is just another word for hoping, and that hope is what keeps every creature in Oo and beyond alive. His role as a wishmaker isn't about granting perfection, it's about interpreting desire. He looks into the heart of each visitor and finds the shape of what they really mean, the wish that will bring them peace without destroying them. Because every wish, as he knows too well, carries its own cost. To change the universe is easy for him. The hard part is knowing what the person actually needs. That's the true art of Prismo's magic, compassion disguised as mischief. It's easy to miss how much emotional intelligence hides beneath his playful tone. When he talks to Finn and Jake, or even to creatures from dimensions far stranger, he always meets them halfway. He never speaks down to anyone. For all his cosmic perspective, he's deeply human, in the way he relates, empathetic, patient, amused by the smallness of life, but never dismissive of it. His humour isn't condescending, it's comforting. It tells others that it's okay to be confused, that it's okay to not have it all figured out. After all, even a being outside time still wonders what to do next. That's the secret behind his smile. It's not just friendliness, it's understanding. When Jake first visits Prismo's room, their bond forms instantly. Prismo doesn't treat him like a hero or a petitioner. He treats him like a person. They share snacks, they watch shows, they talk about nothing in particular, because sometimes nothing in particular is exactly what eternity needs. Their friendship becomes a kind of philosophy in motion, a reminder that even infinite beings need connection that isn't transactional. Jake doesn't want anything from Prismo, and that's why Prismo loves his company. For once, he isn't being asked to fix, create, or grant. He's simply being with someone. It's in that simplicity that his heart shows itself most clearly. Because for Prismo, friendship is the purest kind of wish. It's not something you can make happen with magic. It's something that appears naturally when two souls find comfort in each other's presence. For all his power, that's the one thing he can't conjure at will. And so he treasures it when it arrives. Jake's visits break the rhythm of timeless solitude, punctuating Prismo's endless existence with warmth and laughter. Together, they form a strange sort of balance. Jake, the mortal trickster who ages and changes, and Prismo, the dream that never does. One lives in time, the other outside it, yet they meet in the middle, in a room that stands between the waking world and the infinite. It's as if the universe itself made space for friendship to exist beyond its own laws, but every connection carries the seed of loss. When Prismo dies, when his creator wakes and the dream ends, we see what loneliness really means to him. It's not the fear of non-existence that hurts him, it's the knowledge that he'll leave his friends behind. That the laughter will stop, that the show will end mid-episode. For someone who's spent eternity granting wishes, the only one he can't fulfill is his own, to stay with those he cares about. And yet, even in death, Prismo's compassion continues. His essence leaves traces, echoes in the fabric of reality, memories that guide Finn and Jake forward. It's as though he prepared for this inevitability, not to save himself, but to ensure that his friends wouldn't lose hope. His death scene isn't tragic in the usual sense. It's calm, almost loving. He fades like a dream at dawn, smiling until the end. Because for Prismo, love doesn't end when consciousness does. It lingers, like the afterglow of a good memory. That's what makes him different from other cosmic entities in Adventure Time, where beings like Orgalorg, Golb, or even the cosmic owl embody chaos, destruction, or inevitability. Prismo represents gentleness. He is the still point in the turning universe, a being who holds infinite power but chooses kindness every time. He could have been another cold architect of fate, detached from emotion. Instead, he cooks breakfast. He cheers for his friends. He makes puns. He cares. That's not weakness. That's the quiet strength of someone who understands that compassion is the only thing that gives eternity meaning. There's a moment, subtle but telling, when Prismo helps Finn deal with his own confusion about identity and destiny. He doesn't offer cryptic riddles or cosmic lectures. He simply listens. He talks to Finn like a big brother would. That tone, casual, kind, patient, reveals that Prismo's power isn't his ability to manipulate reality. It's his ability to understand the hearts of others. He sees what they need even when they don't, and he gives it not as a god but as a friend. That's the philosophy at the core of the Wishmaker's heart. Power is meaningless without empathy, and love means giving without expecting anything in return. He knows that better than anyone, because his own existence is one long act of giving. Every wish he grants is a fragment of himself, an offering to others, and yet he never seems drained or bitter. Instead, each interaction seems to brighten him, as if the act of helping others keeps his dream alive. Perhaps that's the deeper truth of his nature. Maybe Prismo exists because he loves. Maybe his creator's dream endures precisely because the dream is kind. In that way, Prismo mirrors the emotional structure of Adventure Time itself. The show constantly blurs the line between cosmic vastness and emotional intimacy. Gods and monsters fall in love, magic coexists with loneliness, and even the smallest moments carry universal weight. Prismo embodies that balance perfectly. He can talk about alternate timelines 1 second and make pickle jokes the next, because, to him, both things are equally important. They're all part of the same dream. But what happens to a heart that never stops giving? Even Prismo's easygoing demeanour can't completely mask the quiet ache beneath it. You can feel it in the pauses between his jokes, in the way he looks at his empty room after a friend leaves. There's a wistfulness there, a longing not for adventure or excitement, but for continuity, for something that lasts. He has eternity, but not permanence. His connections are always temporary. Every visitor vanishes eventually, and he remains, unchanged, waiting for the next flicker of company. And yet, he doesn't despair. That's what makes him truly remarkable. He's lonely, yes, but his loneliness doesn't consume him. It becomes part of him, something he carries with grace. He's learned to find beauty in the waiting, peace in the repetition. He makes jokes about it, but those jokes aren't cynicism, they're survival. Humour, for Prismo, is a way of transforming sadness into something gentle. It's how he keeps the room from feeling too empty. It's how he reminds himself that even isolation can be softened by laughter. He once said that being alive is just being a dream that never stops. It's a line that could sound flippant, but in context, it's profound. To Prismo, life, any life, is fragile, temporary, and miraculous. Whether you're a human, a dog, or a cosmic dream, existence is still a limited burst of consciousness trying to find meaning. His heart, then, is the meeting point of eternity and empathy. He doesn't just understand the universe, he feels for it. The contrast between Prismo and other timeless beings makes this even clearer. The cosmic owl, for instance, symbolizes fate, impersonal and inevitable. Death is impartial. Golb is chaos itself. But Prismo is the one cosmic being who chooses warmth over indifference. He represents the dreamer's side of the divine, the part that wonders, laughs, and feels lonely. In him, infinity becomes approachable. The multiverse, through his personality, becomes human again. And maybe that's why he connects so easily with Jake. Both of them share a kind of easy wisdom, a relaxed approach to life that hides something deep. Jake's philosophy has always been about balance. Don't fight the universe, flow with it. Prismo lives that truth completely. He doesn't resist his condition. He flows within it. His calmness isn't apathy, but surrender, the kind that comes from accepting what can't be changed. He embodies what Jake has always taught Finn, that peace isn't found in escaping your circumstances, but in understanding them. Through their friendship, we see both characters more clearly. Jake learns that even cosmic beings get lonely, and Prismo learns that even mortals can touch eternity through love. Their bond collapses the boundaries between dream and reality. In their shared laughter, the multiverse becomes smaller, more intimate. Two souls meet, and for a moment, the distance between everything disappears. That's the heart of Prismo's philosophy, connection as transcendence. Not through power or knowledge, but through kindness. He doesn't grant wishes because he's obligated to. He does it because he wants to see others happy. In a universe full of chaos and tragedy, that choice makes him one of the most quietly heroic figures in Adventure Time. He doesn't fight wars or conquer realms. He maintains warmth in a place where warmth shouldn't exist. He brings humanity into the void. If you think about it, the universe treats Prismo like a heartbeat. Every time someone makes a wish, a pulse of life runs through him. Every connection reawakens him, momentarily reminding him why he exists. It's not his power that sustains him, it's the act of caring. The more he loves, the longer the dream goes on. And so he keeps smiling, not because he's untouched by sorrow, but because he's learned how to hold it gently. His heart is vast enough to contain both longing and joy, both isolation and connection. That's why, even when his creator sleeps and wakes, when timelines shift and friends age, Prismo remains unchanged, a beacon of warmth in the cold machinery of the cosmos. The Wishmaker's heart beats not in time, but in kindness. Every laugh, every snack, every conversation with a friend, those are his ways of saying, I'm still here, I still care. He may be a dream, but his love is real. And perhaps that's the most profound truth of all, that even a being made of imagination can feel the ache of loneliness and still choose to love the world that forgets him between dreams. Somewhere, in a quiet corner of the multiverse, an old man sleeps. His body rests in a position that suggests deep, unbroken peace. His mind drifts between worlds, creating and dissolving universes in every heartbeat. And within that dream, bright and infinite, lives Prismo. It's strange to think of him this way, as someone else's dream, but that's the truth of his existence. Prismo is not born, nor made. He is imagined into being. His entire consciousness, every laugh, every thought, every act of kindness, depends on another mind staying asleep. It's an idea that sounds tragic, yet Adventure Time doesn't present it that way. Instead, it treats the concept as beautiful, because what is dreaming, if not the purest form of creation? Prismo is what happens when imagination becomes self-aware. He knows he's a dream. He knows he's not real in the ordinary sense, and yet that awareness doesn't diminish him, it completes him. In fact, Prismo might be the only being in Oo who truly understands what it means to exist as both fiction and reality. He is aware of his impermanence, but he never lets it define him. Instead, he treats it like a natural truth, something to live with instead of fight against. There's a quiet power in that acceptance. Most of the characters in Oo wrestle with change, Finn growing up, Bubblegum controlling her creations, Simon losing his identity. But Prismo begins his story already in balance. He doesn't need to discover who he is, because he already knows. He's a dream, yes, but a dream with purpose. A consciousness born from imagination, sustained by compassion, and expressed through endless generosity. That's why his nature as a dream isn't a weakness. It's a metaphor for all existence in Adventure Time. Every living thing in Oo exists in a state of flux, created from something, returning to something else. People die, universes reset, forms shift, memories fade. The show constantly reminds us that nothing is fixed. And yet, meaning persists. Love persists. Friendship persists. Prismo embodies that paradox perfectly. His body may be light, his voice may echo from nowhere, but the warmth he gives others is as real as anything made of flesh and time. It's telling that Prismo never once tries to wake his creator or escape his condition. He doesn't want to be more than what he is. For him, being a dream isn't limitation, it's liberation. Dreams are free from linear time, from consequence, from decay. Within that freedom, he has found peace. He can create endlessly, not because he seeks control, but because he understands impermanence. To him, everything is temporary, and that's what makes it precious. When Jake once asked him if he ever gets bored, Prismo just laughed and said, "Man, boredom's just a word for when you forget how to be amazed." That's the heart of his philosophy. He refuses to see eternity as emptiness. To Prismo, eternity is a canvas that keeps repainting itself. Every visitor, every conversation, every joke adds a new brushstroke. He doesn't need novelty, he finds wonder in repetition. Each hello is a miracle, each goodbye, a lesson in gratitude. It's this perspective that makes Prismo the spiritual anchor of Adventure Time's multiverse. While other beings struggle against the inevitability of time, trying to rule it, reverse it, or survive it, Prismo simply lives with it. His dream space isn't a fortress against change, it's a reflection of it. Inside his room, past and future coexist. He can see all possible outcomes, but he chooses to focus on the one happening right now, the moment of conversation, the laughter between friends, the stillness between words. Because to a being like Prismo, the present is sacred, and maybe that's why he's always smiling. He understands that eternity isn't measured by duration, but by depth, how fully you can live inside a single moment. That's what he teaches Finn, Jake, and, by extension, us. That awareness of impermanence doesn't make life meaningless, it makes it luminous. To understand Prismo's dream is to understand the show's dream itself. Adventure Time is, in many ways, a meditation on imagination. It builds a world where logic bends, physics dances, and emotion becomes landscape. But all of that only exists because someone imagined it, because someone dreamed it into being. Prismo's creator, the sleeping man, mirrors the act of storytelling itself. The dreamer is the artist. Prismo is the story. And his awareness of being dreamed is like a story realizing it's being told. That self-awareness makes Prismo unique. He isn't in denial about his state. He doesn't wonder who he is. He wonders what he can do with what he is. That difference defines his philosophy. He doesn't waste his eternity chasing meaning. He creates meaning through kindness. Every act, every laugh, every friendship becomes a way of giving purpose to an existence that might otherwise seem unreal. When he tells Finn about the power of a wish, he's not really talking about magic. He's talking about choice. A wish, after all, is just a decision, a moment when you declare what matters most to you. Prismo helps others realize that truth, guiding them gently toward clarity. He never imposes meaning. He helps them find it within themselves. That's the paradox of his existence, a dream teaching others how to live fully awake. And yet, his awareness of being a dream brings its own melancholy. Sometimes, when the room is quiet, when no one's visiting, when the multiverse hums softly in the background, Prismo's gaze drifts. You can sense the stillness deepen. Maybe he's thinking about his creator, the old man asleep somewhere beyond reach. Maybe he wonders what that person dreams of now, or whether they can feel his emotions from across dimensions. There's love there, not fear, gratitude, not resentment, because even though his existence is dependent, it's also intimate. He and his creator are two parts of the same consciousness, one dreaming, one being dreamed. That bond gives his loneliness a strangely tender quality. He's not alone because he's forgotten. He's alone because he is part of someone else. His solitude is connected, like the silence between heartbeats, and maybe that's why he relates so well to mortals. Humans, dogs, candy people, they're all temporary forms dreamed by time itself. Prismo just happens to know it. In that sense, he's not above them. He is them, taken to a cosmic extreme. There's something profoundly comforting in that idea. If even Prismo, a literal dream, can find meaning in his existence, then so can we. Because we're all dreams in our own way, the dreams of those who remember us, love us, or imagine what we could be. And like Prismo, we persist through connection. Every act of kindness keeps the dream going. When Finn meets Prismo again after his death, the encounter is gentle, almost reverent. Prismo doesn't appear triumphant or mystical. He's just there, relaxed and familiar, like nothing happened. That calmness tells us something crucial. To Prismo, death and rebirth are just parts of the same cycle. Dreams end, dreams begin, and between them, meaning continues. The dreamer may wake, but the love that shaped the dream remains. That's why he never fears ending, because he knows that endings are simply transitions. This understanding makes Prismo the closest thing Adventure Time has to a philosopher of the soul. He doesn't preach, he doesn't theorize, but everything about his existence is a statement on reality itself, that consciousness and imagination are the same thing, that the universe isn't something we live in, it's something we continually create by dreaming it forward, and that loneliness, no matter how cosmic, is softened by awareness and love. When Prismo looks at his own reflection in the glow of his room, he sees not separation, but unity, the dream and the dreamer intertwined. That's why his tone is never bitter. He doesn't wish to be real, because he knows that being dreamed is real enough. He doesn't cling to permanence, because he understands that permanence is an illusion. All that matters is the continuation of feeling, of joy, of friendship, of gentle curiosity. It's easy to read his situation as tragic, but it's actually deeply hopeful. The idea that a dream can love, that a figment can find peace, that something born from sleep can still care for the waking, that's one of Adventure Time's most beautiful metaphysical ideas. It suggests that creation itself has empathy, that even in imagination there can be genuine emotion. Prismo's laughter, his hospitality, his kindness, none of it is diminished by being fictional. If anything, it's amplified by it. He shows that love doesn't require reality to be real. There's a poetic symmetry in how his existence mirrors the viewer's own relationship with the show. We too step into a dream when we watch Adventure Time. We enter a world that isn't real in the physical sense, but that still makes us feel, laugh, and cry. Prismo's awareness of being dreamed reflects our awareness of watching a dream unfold. The difference is only in scale. He exists inside the story, we exist outside it, but both of us participate in the same cycle of creation and connection. The dream dreams itself through those who witness it. That's why Prismo resonates so deeply. He's not just a character, he's a metaphor for what it means to create and to be created. His loneliness is the artist's loneliness, the storyteller's, the dreamer's. He embodies the quiet truth that imagination is both infinite and solitary, but unlike many cosmic beings, who turn cold with isolation, Prismo chooses warmth. He chooses joy. He chooses to love his dream, even knowing it might vanish when morning comes, and that's what makes him eternal. Not his power, not his dimension, not the sleep that sustains him, but his attitude. His awareness transforms what could have been a tragedy into a meditation on gratitude. He finds purpose in impermanence. He turns the fragility of his being into a reason to care more deeply. His laughter in that golden room is the sound of a soul at peace with its own unreality. So the dream continues, looping softly through the folds of eternity. Prismo wakes without waking. The old man sleeps without dreaming of anything else. And in that shared stillness, the universe breathes. Somewhere, a friend remembers him. Somewhere, a laugh echoes. And somewhere, the light of that eternal room glows faintly, waiting for another visitor to step inside, not to ask for a wish, but simply to share a moment in the dream. For most beings in U, time is a current that carries them forward. It moves them from childhood to age, from beginning to ending, from innocence to wisdom. But for Prismo, time is not a current. It's an ocean, vast and still, with every wave happening at once. He does not move through time. Time moves through him. And yet, for someone who exists outside its flow, he understands its weight better than anyone who's ever lived. Prismo's existence is defined by time, even as he transcends it. His room floats in a space where hours do not pass, where the sun never rises or falls. Inside it, clocks have no meaning, and cause does not follow effect. But when Jake and Finn step into that glow, something remarkable happens. The room bends to their rhythm. Their laughter creates moments. Their words create sequence. For as long as they are there, time begins again. And when they leave, the stillness returns. That rhythm, the alternating pulse of presence and absence, is how Prismo experiences existence. It's not linear, it's relational. He doesn't measure life by events, but by connections. Each visit, each wish, each conversation is a point of warmth in the endless calm. He might see all outcomes simultaneously, but he only feels the moments when someone is with him. In that way, time, for Prismo, is not measured by clocks, it's measured by love. The paradox of Prismo's being is that he can see every possible version of reality and still choose to care about one. He knows how every story could end. He's watched universes rise and dissolve like bubbles in the sea. Yet, instead of detaching from it all, he leans closer. He invests in friendship, in fleeting laughter, in small talk that lasts a heartbeat in eternity. His choice to care, despite knowing the outcomes, is what makes him alive. If immortality teaches detachment, Prismo teaches intimacy. Because knowing the future doesn't make the present meaningless. It makes it sacred. He once explained to Finn that every wish creates a new timeline, a branching possibility, each one real in its own way. He didn't say this with authority, but with softness, as if describing a garden he tends rather than a system he controls. That's how he views time, not as a strict line, but as something organic. Each moment blooms from another. Each decision seeds a world. In this garden of possibilities, he is both caretaker and observer, pruning chaos into harmony. But even a gardener gets lonely among endless flowers. Knowing every outcome means never being surprised, and without surprise, time loses its texture. That's why Prismo loves Jake so much, because Jake brings unpredictability into the room. He breaks the stillness, makes jokes Prismo couldn't foresee, acts in ways no timeline could fully capture. Jake, in all his lazy wisdom, reintroduces time to a being who had long outgrown it. When Prismo laughs, it's because, for a moment, he doesn't know what comes next. That's his version of living. There's a subtle melancholy in that too, because he knows it can't last. Time for Jake moves forward, but for Prismo, it loops endlessly. One day, Jake will stop visiting. One day, Prismo will remember him instead of waiting for him. And yet, he chooses to love him anyway. That's his defiance against the shape of time, to embrace it despite knowing it will break his heart. It's in that acceptance that Prismo's philosophy becomes clearest. He doesn't seek to master time, he seeks to understand it. Time, to him, is not a prison or a puzzle, it's a language. Every moment is a word, every decision a sentence, and together they form the story of being. Most people experience this story only once, in order. But Prismo reads the whole book at once, and still finds meaning in a single line. When Finn encounters Prismo during moments of temporal collapse, when the rules of the multiverse bend and fold, Prismo doesn't panic. He jokes. He explains. He guides Finn not by changing fate, but by helping him see that fate is flexible. That's the essence of his wisdom. Time is not something to be controlled, but something to be understood compassionately. Every event, even loss, has its place in the larger pattern. To resist time is to resist connection. To flow with it is to grow. That's what makes Prismo so different from beings like the cosmic owl, who represents inevitability, or death, who represents finality. Prismo represents continuity. He doesn't end or begin. He simply exists, endlessly reflecting the fact that everything, love, pain, memory, change, loops back into itself. When something ends, something else begins, and he's there to witness the exchange. His room is the crossroads where time touches eternity. He once said, "Every moment is happening forever. You just have to zoom out far enough to see it." It's not arrogance, it's perspective. To him, time isn't a straight line or even a circle. It's a shape too large for mortals to perceive, a geometry of emotion and consequence. He doesn't flatten it, he finds beauty in its complexity. Every regret, every joy, every dream adds dimension to the tapestry. That's why he grants wishes carefully. He knows that a single desire can echo across centuries. Time doesn't erase choices, it multiplies them. Still, even with all that awareness, Prismo is gentle. He never weaponizes his knowledge. He never lords it over those who come to him desperate to change their lives. Instead, he listens, and when he answers, his words feel like sunlight through a curtain, warm, indirect, and full of calm understanding. He doesn't warn people against making mistakes, because he knows mistakes are the architecture of growth. In his view, time is not cruel, it's honest. It gives everyone what they need to learn, not always what they want. That's why his loneliness doesn't harden him. He's seen how time can turn love into loss, friendship into memory, life into legend. But he also knows that each transformation is another form of continuation. He understands that nothing truly disappears. Every soul that touches his room, every laugh that fills his silence, remains imprinted in the endless now. Prismo's eternity isn't empty because it's full of echoes. In a way, that's his comfort. Even when Jake is gone, when Finn has grown, when Oo itself has changed beyond recognition, Prismo will still remember them exactly as they were, and as they will be. For him, memory and time are the same. To remember something perfectly is to make it live forever. That's his quiet rebellion against oblivion. To hold on, without holding too tight. Sometimes, when he turns off the TV and sits in silence, he might think about how strange it is that he can see every future but never move into it. He is both omniscient and static, a consciousness forever awake at the center of everything. But maybe that stillness is the point. Maybe his stillness is what allows time to move. Every flow needs an anchor. Every story needs a witness. Prismo is that anchor. Without him, the multiverse might unravel from lack of perspective. That's why he never complains. His isolation is not punishment, it's purpose. He holds the timelines steady, tending them like threads, making sure none snap too violently. When chaos erupts, when heroes fall, when magic destabilizes, Prismo remains constant, the serene dream keeping the universe from waking too soon. His loneliness, in that sense, is an act of service. He endures solitude so that others can live their brief, radiant lives inside the time he safeguards. The irony, of course, is that for someone outside of time, he's the most human character in the show. He misses people, he feels nostalgia, he reminisces. These are emotions born of time, and yet he feels them anyway. That paradox defines him. His awareness doesn't free him from emotion, it deepens it. Because he can see every version of those he loves, he cherishes them more, not less. To him, time is not what separates people, it's what connects them across every possible world. There's a quiet scene, no grand music, no explosion of colour where Prismo simply waits. The room glows faintly. He's flipping channels, half smiling. Somewhere, in some branch of time, a version of Jake is still laughing. Somewhere else, Finn is still dreaming. For Prismo, all those moments are happening together. The laughter is eternal. The friendship is infinite. Time, in his eyes, isn't linear or circular, it's alive. It breathes. It pulses with the rhythm of connection. And in that rhythm, he finds peace. Not the peace of ignorance, but of understanding. He knows that even if everything changes, the act of caring gives shape to the chaos. Love is what time looks like when seen from above. That's why Prismo's smile never fades. He's not smiling because he's happy all the time. He's smiling because he sees the pattern. He sees how loss becomes memory, how endings become beginnings, how even pain turns into beauty when you step far enough back. His grin is the grin of the universe accepting itself. So, the shape of time, in Prismo's world, isn't a straight path or a loop, it's a heart. It expands and contracts, holding everything that ever was and will be in the same gentle motion. And at its centre, Prismo rests, quiet, glowing, eternal, watching over every life, every moment, every possibility. Not as a god, but as a friend who never forgets. Because time, like Prismo, never truly ends. It just keeps finding new ways to love. Every being in Adventure Time seeks connection. Some look for it in love, others in friendship, others in legacy or creation. But for Prismo, connection is both his greatest gift and his quietest ache. He is surrounded by infinite possibilities, infinite versions of everyone he's ever met, and yet he only ever truly feels the ones that come to him, sit beside him, and share a moment in his golden light. Prismo lives in a paradox. He sees all things at once, but can touch only one world at a time. He understands every version of Jake that has ever been, every choice Finn could ever make, every universe Princess Bubblegum could build or lose, and yet he still longs for the singular warmth of this version, this moment, this laugh. That longing, more than his power, defines who he is, because even eternity craves intimacy. The irony of being everywhere is that you are also nowhere. And so Prismo's connection to others becomes the thread that ties him to reality. Each visitor brings a new rhythm to the stillness, a new heartbeat in the endless hum. He greets them not as a god, but as a friend hosting guests in his home. There is no ceremony, no hierarchy, no awe, just warmth. That's what makes him so different from every other cosmic entity. He doesn't want worship, he wants company. Jake, of course, embodies this perfectly. When he enters Prismo's room, the mood changes entirely. The air feels lighter. The silence fills with laughter. They talk about nothing, food, weird dreams, small nonsense, but that nothing is everything. For Prismo, those moments are eternity. Time stops mattering because connection replaces it. The universe doesn't need to expand when two friends are sharing joy. There's a purity in the way Jake and Prismo interact, a kind of unspoken trust that asks for nothing and gives everything. Prismo never hides his nature from Jake. He doesn't pretend to be more real than he is. He doesn't downplay his loneliness. But Jake never treats him like something fragile. He treats him like a friend, with equal parts affection and casualness. That balance is rare. It's not pity, and it's not reverence. It's understanding. Jake's visits remind Prismo that connection doesn't have to be constant to be meaningful. Even if Jake leaves, the memory of laughter lingers like music that never fades completely. That memory becomes part of the dream, replayed endlessly in the stillness between wishes. For Prismo, memory and love are the same thing. To remember someone fondly is to keep them alive inside the dream. But Jake isn't the only connection that shapes him. Finn's visits carry a different energy, youthful, uncertain, searching. Finn comes to Prismo not just for friendship, but for meaning. He asks questions no one else can answer, and Prismo always meets them with patience. He doesn't give direct answers. He helps Finn find them himself. There's a quiet mentorship there, the kind that feels more like two souls learning together than a teacher guiding a student. Finn's curiosity wakes something in Prismo that even Jake's companionship doesn't wonder. Because for all his cosmic knowledge, Prismo can't feel discovery the way mortals do. When Finn wonders about destiny or love, Prismo listens like someone hearing an old song for the first time again. Finn's youth reintroduces awe into the infinite. Through him, Prismo rediscovers what it means to be curious. That's the gift mortals give to immortals in Adventure Time. Renewal. Every connection refreshes eternity. Each conversation becomes a small rebellion against cosmic stasis. And for Prismo, who cannot move, every visitor is a journey. He never forgets anyone who comes to him. Even those who appear briefly, a king, a warrior, a creature seeking redemption, they all leave something behind. A voice, a feeling, a trace of life. His room becomes a mosaic of these encounters, invisible but present, layered across timelessness. In that way, Prismo's isolation is never absolute. The echoes of love fill the space long after the speakers are gone. There's a subtle beauty in how he collects these echoes without claiming ownership of them. He doesn't cling to the people he meets. He doesn't demand they stay. He lets them go freely, knowing that the connection remains even after distance returns. That's his understanding of love. Not possession, but presence. Connection doesn't need continuity to be eternal. It just needs sincerity. That idea becomes clearer when we think about Prismo's own nature. He's a dream, but his feelings are real. His connections exist within imagination, yet they affect the waking world. When he talks with Jake, those moments change Jake. They give him new perspectives, soften his philosophy, make him more aware of time and friendship. In return, Jake changes Prismo too, makes him laugh again, makes him remember that infinity doesn't have to mean detachment. Their connection travels in both directions, dream to world and back again. This reciprocity is the essence of Adventure Time's philosophy of love. Love isn't a one-way act of giving, it's a cycle of reflection. Prismo grants wishes, but the act of granting gives him meaning. He helps others find themselves, but in doing so, he reaffirms who he is. His connections don't diminish him, they define him. There's a kind of holiness in that. Not the holiness of worship, but of understanding. Because when you exist beyond time, beyond form, the only thing that can touch you is emotion. And Prismo opens himself completely to it. He lets love hurt him. He lets loneliness shape him. He allows friendship to become his gravity, the thing that gives him weight in an existence without boundaries. He doesn't see connection as weakness. He sees it as proof that he's real enough. If others can feel him, if they can laugh with him, then what does it matter that he's the dream? The warmth is real, the emotion is real, the bond is real. Prismo's heart beats not in the body of the dreamer who created him, but in the shared pulse between himself and those who enter his light. That's what makes his story so profoundly moving. He's not searching for escape or freedom or even validation. He's searching for continuity of feeling, a way to make connection last across boundaries, between worlds, between states of being, between waking and dreaming. When Finn and Jake leave, Prismo doesn't vanish into silence. He holds onto their friendship like a vibration in the air. Somewhere in the multiverse, they still exist. Somewhere, their laughter continues. To him, that's enough. In that sense, Prismo doesn't just connect with individuals, he connects with the entire structure of existence. His dream touches every possible timeline, weaving together the multiverse through empathy. Every wish he grants subtly binds realities together, not through control, but through compassion. He doesn't impose order, he maintains harmony. He keeps the infinite from falling apart by caring about it. This is why the other cosmic beings respect him. They know his power is not dominance, but balance. Even beings like the cosmic owl, who represent inevitability or death, who represents finality, treat Prismo differently. He's not their opposite, he's their bridge. He exists where endings meet beginnings, where dream meets reality. His kindness is what keeps those borders from turning cold. Without him, the multiverse might still exist, but it would lack tenderness. He's the warmth in the system. If you think about it, connection is the only real power Prismo has, and it's the one power that can't be taken from him. Even when his creator wakes and the dream collapses, the love remains. It's stored in memory, in the hearts of those who knew him. When Jake remembers him, when Finn speaks his name, Prismo flickers back into being. That's how connection transcends even death. It's the continuation of awareness through shared affection. This theme runs through all of Adventure Time. Love outlives time. Memory outlives death. Connection outlives distance. Prismo is the living embodiment of that truth. He's proof that existence itself is relational, that being alive means being felt by others. Even when he is erased, he isn't gone. The dream just shifts shape, waiting to be remembered again. When he's finally restored, he greets his friends with the same easy tone, the same humour. There's no anger, no grief, no lament, just warmth. Because for him, coming back isn't a miracle, it's a reunion. His existence doesn't depend on permanence, only on recognition. As long as someone remembers him, the dream continues. That's what connection is. The act of keeping each other alive across the spaces between. And that's what makes Prismo such a uniquely emotional figure in Adventure Time. He stands at the intersection of dream and reality, loneliness and love, eternity and impermanence, and he chooses connection every time. His relationships define the moral centre of the series. While others chase power or immortality, he reminds us that the only eternity worth having is the one made of people who remember you kindly. He once joked that hanging out is the highest form of existence. And maybe he was right. Because hanging out, simply being together, doing nothing, is connection at its purest. It's not driven by need or purpose, it's just presence. It's the universe pausing to feel itself through another. That's what Prismo offers everyone who visits him. Not answers, not miracles, just company. And in a world where even gods get lonely, that's the most sacred thing there is. Prismo's dream of connection is, in a way, Adventure Time's dream too. Every story in Ooh, every heartbreak, every battle, every joke, is about finding each other through the chaos. It's about seeing across the barriers that separate beings and realizing that all those boundaries are illusions. Prismo lives this truth more literally than anyone. His body is made of light, his mind of imagination, yet his love is tangible. It crosses the gap between realities like a bridge made of laughter. When the show ends, and we see glimpses of peace across the world, kingdoms rebuilt, friendships enduring, lives continuing, we can imagine that somewhere, in the golden room outside time, Prismo is still there, watching it all with a quiet smile. His connections ripple outward endlessly, touching worlds he'll never visit directly, but will always feel. Because connection, once formed, doesn't fade, it expands. And maybe that's the real message hidden in his story. That every act of kindness, every moment of attention, every gentle word creates a bridge, and those bridges never break. They might vanish from sight, but they remain in the structure of reality, unseen and eternal. Prismo's room is filled with such bridges. They form the architecture of his heart. When he laughs now, he's laughing with all the voices that ever filled his space. When he looks at the glow around him, he sees it shimmer with memories. He may be a dream, but the connections he's made are real enough to light a universe. In the end, the dream of connection is the dream of being known, of being seen and loved, even if only for a moment. Prismo embodies that dream completely. He reminds us that even the smallest bond can echo across eternity, and that to exist, truly exist, is not to live forever, but to touch another soul in the brief space between waking and sleep. The universe, in its endless complexity, often feels cold. Stars burn and die, worlds rise and fall, time folds over itself like waves erasing the sand. But in the middle of all that distance, there is a small room glowing softly, a constant pulse of warmth in the fabric of infinity. It hums quietly, golden and eternal. That is Prismo's home, the dream within the dream, where love endures even when everything else dissolves. It's easy to think of immortality as a kind of power, to live outside time, to see all realities, to shape destinies. It sounds like freedom. But Prismo knows better. Immortality isn't power, it's patience. It's the art of waiting for connection to return, of finding meaning in repetition, of keeping warmth alive when the universe forgets how to feel it. His existence is proof that eternity isn't measured in length, but in depth, in how deeply one can love despite knowing that everything changes. In the quiet between wishes, Prismo sits on his couch. He doesn't pace. He doesn't sigh. He doesn't try to escape. He just exists, fully and calmly. The golden light of the room flickers like sunlight on still water. Somewhere in the far distance of reality, stars are dying and being born, but here, there's only the steady hum of timelessness and the faint echo of laughter from long ago. Jake's laughter, Finn's voice, the sounds of connection that have become the rhythm of his eternity. Every once in a while, a visitor appears. They arrive nervous, awed by the power of the Wishmaster. They ask for things: love, wealth, redemption. Prismo smiles, listens, and grants their desires with care. But what he's really doing in that moment is offering them understanding. He's saying in his own gentle way, "I see you." That recognition is the real wish. It's what every being in Oo truly wants, to be seen by someone who understands their heart. And Prismo does. He understands them because he's seen every version of them, every possible joy, every possible mistake, and he loves them anyway. His acceptance is unconditional, not because he's above judgment, but because he knows judgment has no meaning when viewed through eternity. From far enough away, every choice becomes part of the same pattern. Every life, no matter how brief or chaotic, contributes to the great warmth that runs through all existence. He sees that warmth. He keeps it alive. That's the strange grace of Prismo. He carries the kindness of the universe inside him. While others seek purpose through action, creation, or control, Prismo finds his purpose in stillness. His patience is a kind of love. He doesn't try to fix time, he tends to it. He doesn't fight fate, he listens to it. And when the multiverse trembles, his calm becomes its center. His laughter reminds reality that even infinite complexity can have a simple heart. In that sense, Prismo is not just a dream. He's the memory of compassion that runs through all things. Every being, no matter how small or powerful, holds a spark of his warmth. When Finn chooses kindness over vengeance, when Marceline forgives instead of fighting, when Bubblegum admits her fear, those moments are the echo of Prismo's philosophy. His influence doesn't come through commands or miracles. It spreads through empathy. He has no disciples, no doctrine, just the quiet legacy of understanding that flows outward from his golden room. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the most profound acts of love are the ones no one sees, the quiet ones that keep others steady. Prismo's dream endures not because he is remembered by all, but because he remembers everyone else. His love is archival. It holds every laugh, every promise, every goodbye. He keeps them alive in his light, like fireflies in amber, glowing softly against eternity's dark. When Jake dies, in the timelines where he eventually must, Prismo doesn't weep, he doesn't rage. He simply sits in silence, feeling the echo of Jake's spirit ripple through the infinite. Somewhere, another version of Jake is still alive, still telling jokes, still visiting. Prismo sees all of them at once. In that simultaneity, death loses its sting. Every goodbye is balanced by another hello. Every ending is balanced by another beginning. Love, seen from eternity, never truly fades. It just moves to another place in time. That's why he can smile even when he's alone. He's not ignoring his loneliness, he's understanding it. Loneliness, to Prismo, is proof that he's capable of love. It's the shadow cast by connection, the echo of something meaningful that once filled the space. To feel it means that something beautiful happened. So he honors it. He sits with it. He doesn't try to erase it with distraction or denial. He lets it remind him of what matters. In a way, Prismo's loneliness is his most human quality. For all his cosmic knowledge, it's the part of him that connects him most deeply to life. Mortals fear the end. Prismo fears the absence of feeling. That's why he surrounds himself with warmth, light, and laughter, not to escape solitude, but to make peace with it. His room is a sanctuary built from acceptance. And that's what makes him so profoundly comforting to those who find him. He doesn't preach meaning, he embodies it. His every gesture says, "You are not alone, even when no one is with you. You are not forgotten, even when time moves on. You are part of something larger, a dream of love that keeps dreaming itself." That's the real miracle of Prismo's existence. He's proof that consciousness can outgrow despair, that even in infinite stillness, warmth can endure, that being alone doesn't mean being empty. His joy isn't the denial of sorrow, it's the transformation of it. He's what happens when sadness learns to smile. When Finn meets him again after everything, after losses, after growing older, after seeing the world change, Prismo greets him with the same easy friendliness, as if no time has passed. But the reunion means more now. It's not just another visit. It's a reminder that love, once formed, survives every version of time. Finn has changed, Prismo hasn't. But in their shared laughter, both find something eternal. The comfort of being recognized by someone who remembers you exactly as you were. In that moment, Prismo's warmth becomes the emotional axis of the show. He's not there to resolve plot lines or explain mysteries. He's there to witness them, to acknowledge that all stories, no matter how strange or short, are part of the same great dream. He doesn't judge how long something lasts, only how sincerely it was lived. That's the true wisdom of eternity. Not detachment, but gratitude. If you look closely, you can see that gratitude in everything he does. The way he thanks Jake for visiting, the way he waves when someone leaves, the way he chuckles softly when the room goes quiet again. It's not performative, it's real. It's the gratitude of a being who knows that every encounter, however brief, is a small miracle. That every laugh shared in a universe this vast is worth celebrating. In his stillness, Prismo teaches the lesson at the heart of Adventure Time, that love is not about permanence, but about presence. That connection doesn't need to last forever, to matter forever. That kindness, once given, reverberates beyond time. That's the warmth beyond eternity, the love that doesn't fade when the dream ends. It's the warmth in the memory of a friend's voice. The warmth in the laugh that echoes after the room is empty. The warmth in the knowledge that someone, somewhere, once cared for you completely. For Prismo, that warmth is eternity. He doesn't seek heaven or transcendence or ultimate truth. He already lives inside it. His golden room, small and simple, is the heart of the universe, not because it holds power, but because it holds compassion. It's the space where time and emotion overlap, where the dream of existence keeps itself alive by remembering to love. And perhaps that's why his smile endures, even when no one is watching. He smiles not out of ignorance, but out of understanding. He knows that nothing is ever truly lost, that everything we are, every friendship, every act of care, becomes part of a greater continuity of feeling. Even when the dream awakes, the dream remains. Even when the story ends, its warmth lingers in those who heard it. That's the quiet secret Prismo carries, that love is the universe's only permanent state. Everything else, time, form, identity, is temporary scaffolding. But love is the constant, the pulse beneath the surface, the reason dreams return, and the reason we keep creating new ones. If you close your eyes and imagine his room, you can almost hear it, that soft hum of existence, that golden light breathing. The room isn't empty, it's full of echoes. Every laugh Jake ever gave him, every little dude he ever said to Finn, every gentle sigh of someone finding peace, they all shimmer in the air, woven into the light itself. That's what eternity really sounds like. Not silence, but the quiet murmur of remembered love. And somewhere in that glow, Prismo stirs, maybe looking toward the place where new dreams form. He doesn't need to know what comes next. He just waits, patiently, joyfully, for the next ripple of connection to reach him. Because even eternity, infinite and unchanging, is incomplete without the simple grace of companionship. So he keeps the couch warm, he keeps the pickles ready, he keeps the room glowing, not for himself, but for whoever might appear next, because love, even cosmic love, is always an open invitation. The universe continues, and so does he. A dream within a dream, forever awake, forever kind. The wishmaker, the friend, the smile that never fades, the warmth beyond eternity. When someone stands before Prismo, they do not see a god. They see themselves reflected in a way they've never been before. The golden light of his room doesn't blind. It reveals. It reveals not through power or judgment, but through understanding. That is Prismo's true gift, not wishmaking, not immortality, but reflection. He is the mirror of the multiverse, and every soul that enters his light finds their truest image looking back. The first thing people notice in his presence isn't his voice or his shape. It's the feeling, the quiet sense that everything about them is understood before they even speak. Prismo doesn't need to read minds. He listens to how people wish, not just what they wish for. The tremor in a word, the pause before confession, the tone that betrays longing, he hears them all. And in that hearing, he holds a mirror to their heart. He doesn't do it to expose anyone. He does it to free them, because to know yourself, truly know yourself, is the beginning of every wish worth making. When mortals come to Prismo, they bring with them the weight of wanting. Their desires are often tangled, love and fear, pride and regret. They believe they want one thing, but deep down they're reaching for something else entirely: safety, belonging, peace. Prismo sees through all of it, not to mock them, but to guide them toward honesty. He has seen every version of every person, and he knows that no wish, no matter how extravagant, can change what someone refuses to see within themselves. So he helps them look, not through lectures, not through judgment, but through presence. His calmness becomes a mirror that lets people face their own truth without shame. It's why they trust him so quickly, why even gods speak to him with open hearts. His empathy doesn't come from ignorance of pain, it comes from complete understanding of it. Prismo knows what it means to want more than you can have. He knows what it means to exist in between realities, never fully belonging to any of them. That knowledge makes him kind. When Jake first visits him, the reflection goes both ways. Jake sees a friend, relaxed, easygoing, fun to be around. But Prismo sees more. He sees a being who pretends to float through life while carrying deep wisdom he rarely voices. He sees Jake's love for his family, his curiosity about meaning, his quiet awareness that time moves faster than he wants it to. In Jake, Prismo recognizes himself, another soul who hides philosophy beneath humor. They mirror each other perfectly. Jake, the mortal who lives as though eternity doesn't matter, and Prismo, the eternal who lives as though mortality is everything. Through Jake, Prismo remembers what spontaneity feels like. Through Prismo, Jake glimpses what peace with time looks like. That's the beauty of their friendship. It's not one reflecting the other, but both reflecting the same truth. That being alive, in any form, means learning how to be present. Finn's reflection is different. When Finn stands in Prismo's room, he's young, restless, full of questions. He wants to be a hero. He wants to be right. He wants things to mean something. And Prismo listens, smiling gently, as if he's looking at a past self. Because Prismo understands the ache behind Finn's need for purpose, the same ache that once shaped his own dream into existence. He doesn't answer Finn's questions with cosmic riddles or lessons about fate. He just reflects them back, softly. Why do you want that? He might ask. What does it feel like to want that? He never tells Finn what to do. He helps him see why he wants to do it. That's what makes Prismo's room so different from any other place in the multiverse. It's not a temple or a throne room. It's a mirror chamber, a space where people find the reflection they didn't know they needed. His power doesn't come from creating new realities, but from helping others see the reality they've already built inside themselves. It's the same reason why his wishes, even when playful, always feel right. He doesn't manipulate. He harmonizes. Each wish he grants is like tuning an instrument back to its proper pitch. He doesn't force outcomes. He nudges them toward resonance. Sometimes the wish itself hardly matters. What matters is the clarity that follows. People leave his room lighter than they came, not because their problems vanish, but because they've seen themselves clearly, and that sight alone changes everything. This is why Prismo rarely shows frustration. He knows that even selfish wishes come from a place of pain. He knows that greed is just fear disguised as ambition. He knows that arrogance is just loneliness, wearing armor. To him, there are no villains, only beings who haven't yet recognized the truth inside them. And so he reflects without judgment, letting them glimpse the love they keep hidden from themselves. But mirrors can be difficult things. To reflect someone fully means to absorb their sorrow as well as their joy, and Prismo does. Every visitor leaves a trace of feeling behind, and over eons those feelings accumulate. He carries them like invisible stars inside him, tiny points of light that sometimes flicker painfully, yet he never regrets it. To him, those fragments of emotion are what make existence worth enduring. The price of empathy is memory, and he's willing to pay it. That's why his loneliness is never sterile. It's textured, alive, full of echoes. He may be alone, but he's never empty. Every memory of connection fills the space around him with warmth. The laughter of Jake, the questions of Finn, the whispered hopes of 1,000 dreamers, all of them live in the golden air of his room. He doesn't call it nostalgia, he calls it company. To understand Prismo's reflection is to understand the show's philosophy of empathy. Every soul in Oo mirrors another. Princess Bubblegum reflects Marceline's vulnerability. Ice King reflects Simon's loss. Finn reflects the innocence of everyone who still believes the world can be kind. Prismo sits above all that, holding the mirror steady. He's the quiet reminder that understanding others begins with seeing yourself. His room, in that sense, is the emotional center of the multiverse, the still point where all reflections converge. The walls are smooth, the light eternal, but within that stillness lies infinite movement. Every wish, every story, every heartbeat ripples through the golden air, bouncing back softer, clearer. Prismo hears them all. He keeps their reflections polished, never letting them fade. Sometimes, when the multiverse grows chaotic, when new worlds are born from old ones, Prismo's room grows brighter. It's as though the energy of creation itself is drawn to him, to the place that understands it. He doesn't command it, he welcomes it. The multiverse needs mirrors to remember itself, and Prismo is the clearest of them all. He reflects not only the good, but also the broken. When dark forces like Golb distort existence, Prismo feels the imbalance. He doesn't fight directly. His role isn't to destroy chaos, but to show it what it's missing. Even chaos, in his eyes, is a reflection in need of understanding. Where others see horror, he sees confusion. Where others see destruction, he sees longing. That's what makes his compassion boundless. He finds humanity even in the inhuman. In that way, Prismo's empathy holds the multiverse together more tightly than any law of physics ever could, because to reflect something truly is to affirm its existence, and affirmation, in its purest form, is love. The multiverse survives not because it is orderly, but because it is witnessed. Prismo is that witness, the dream who sees everything, accepts everything, and reflects it all back with gentleness. Sometimes, after visitors leave, he talks to the room, not out of madness, but affection. "That one'll be okay," he might say softly, or "they're gonna figure it out." The room glows faintly in response, as if listening. In those quiet conversations, he mirrors himself. He reminds his own heart that compassion works both ways, outward and inward. Because even a being made of light needs to remember to love the light within. That's perhaps the greatest truth Prismo teaches, that reflection without self-love becomes emptiness. If you see everything but never include yourself, you dissolve. Prismo has seen gods and mortals lose themselves to that. He refuses to. He reflects himself back gently, without vanity. His humour, his calm, his comfort, their ways of caring for his own soul. He knows that if he stops smiling, the multiverse might forget how. His laughter isn't denial, it's maintenance. It's the sound of a mirror keeping itself clear. And so, he continues, patient, radiant, endlessly kind. Every new face that appears in his room adds another shimmer to his infinite reflection. He never knows when the next visitor will arrive, but that's the beauty of it. He doesn't need to know. He just keeps the room warm, the light soft, the smile ready. Because sooner or later, someone always finds their way to the dream that listens. When they do, they'll see themselves more clearly than ever before. And maybe, if they're lucky, they'll see what Prismo sees, that every being in the multiverse, no matter how small or lost, shines with the same golden light that fills his room. In the end, that's what makes him the mirror of all things. He doesn't create reflection through judgment or separation, but through love. And in that love, the multiverse remembers itself perfectly, gently, forever. To make a wish is to reveal a piece of your soul. It's a confession wrapped in hope. A wish exposes what you believe you're missing: love, peace, power, forgiveness, and offers it to the universe like a prayer. Most who arrive in Prismo's golden room don't realize that they're not just asking for a gift. They're handing over their hearts. And Prismo, the eternal listener, accepts those hearts with care, because he knows that every wish carries weight, and he carries that weight for everyone who asks. People often imagine that granting wishes would be fun, simple, maybe even whimsical. But Prismo knows better. The act of granting a wish is an act of translation. The words a person speaks are never the full truth. Behind them lies pain, confusion, memory, entire lifetimes of longing. To grant a wish without understanding its roots would be cruelty disguised as kindness. So Prismo listens. He listens past the words. He hears the tremor behind confidence, the sorrow behind laughter, the silence behind urgency. When someone says, "I want to be happy," he doesn't create happiness out of thin air. He asks himself, why are they not happy now? What wound are they trying to cover with that wish? What truth are they afraid to face? He doesn't judge those answers. He simply incorporates them. Each wish he grants is a reflection of that complexity, not a correction of it. He doesn't erase the pain. He reshapes it into understanding. That's why Prismo's wishes always seem right, even when they're strange. He never gives people exactly what they say they want. He gives them what they need to see. His magic is not indulgent, it's compassionate. And compassion, unlike indulgence, requires patience and precision. It's the same kind of patience a friend shows when you're grieving. The kind that doesn't rush to fix you, but sits with you until the storm passes. Prismo's wishes are like that. They don't fix people. They hold them. They give them space to rediscover their own strength. There's a scene that exists in Feeling More Than Sight. A visitor arrives, desperate. They demand their wish, certain it will heal them. Prismo leans back, listening, eyes kind, but knowing. He grants it with a smile. But there's a depth in his expression that says he's already seen what comes next. When the wish unfolds, it doesn't bring peace, not immediately. It brings revelation. The visitor realizes that what they truly wanted wasn't the wish's result, but the understanding that came with it. Prismo never says, "I told you so." He never gloats. He just smiles, softly, as if saying, "Now you see." Because for him, wishes are mirrors too. They reflect the truths people aren't ready to speak aloud. And yet, that reflection comes at a cost. Every wish leaves a mark. Not just on the universe, but on Prismo himself. He doesn't grant them lightly. Each one is an act of energy, empathy, and memory. A small rearrangement of reality's fabric. For mortals, that rearrangement feels miraculous. For Prismo, it's a form of intimacy. He touches the deepest part of a being's essence and shapes it gently. In doing so, he learns them completely. And when they leave, that knowledge doesn't fade. It becomes part of him. He carries them all, every wish ever made, every cry for help, every whispered hope, every selfish demand that turned out not to be selfish at all, just human. The weight of those emotions doesn't crush him, it shapes him. They make him more than a dream. They make him a mosaic of everyone he's ever helped. But even mosaics can crack under too much weight. There are times when the silence after a wish feels heavy, when the laughter fades, and he's left wondering whether he did the right thing. Because Prismo is not infallible. He can see infinite possibilities, but not infinite consequences. There's a humility in that, a quiet awareness that even perfection can't guarantee happiness. He does his best, but he knows that best doesn't always mean right. That humility is what keeps him kind. He doesn't see himself as a god because he knows what gods often forget, that power without empathy becomes cruelty. So, when he grants a wish, he does so with reverence, not for himself, but for the soul standing before him. He treats each request like a fragile relic. Even the most absurd wishes, for wealth, beauty, or revenge, receive the same care. Because Prismo knows that behind every absurdity lies something sacred, a need to be seen, to be understood, to matter. He never mocks desire, he honours it, because desire is the proof of life. To want something, anything, means the flame inside you still burns. Jake once teased him, saying, "Dude, you take this wish stuff way too seriously." Prismo just laughed. "Nah, man," he said. "It's just, every wish is a story. You can't tell a story without feeling it." And he's right. Wishes are stories, small narratives born from the heart. When someone says, "I wish I could go back," they're telling a story about regret. When they say, "I wish I was stronger," they're telling a story about fear. Prismo listens to those stories like an author who already knows the ending but still wants to hear how it's told. Because the telling itself is healing. He doesn't take pride in his power. He takes pride in his listening. The magic isn't in the act of changing reality. It's in the act of understanding it deeply enough to know how to change it without breaking it. That's why his wishes rarely come with spectacle. They're subtle, seamless, almost invisible. He changes the world quietly, so that the person who made the wish feels as though they changed it themselves. That humility is part of what makes his room so peaceful. There are no divine commands, no blinding displays of might, just light, laughter, and a sense that everything, even pain, can be handled with grace. But the weight of empathy is cumulative. Over endless time, it becomes something close to sorrow. Not the kind of sorrow that breaks, but the kind that lingers, like gravity, constant, invisible, undeniable. It's the heaviness that comes from knowing everyone's desires and realizing how many of them spring from loneliness. Every being he meets wants connection in some form. Even the cruel ones, even the angry ones, they just want to feel less alone in their wanting. That realization shapes Prismo's kindness. He doesn't see foolishness in their wishes, he sees humanity. He doesn't see greed, he sees hunger for meaning. He doesn't see arrogance, he sees insecurity. He sees himself in all of them, because he too is a being defined by desire, the desire to belong, to connect, to give. His entire existence is a wish made by another dreamer. The old man who sleeps and dreams him into being wished, perhaps unconsciously, for companionship. And that wish became Prismo. In that sense, Prismo is not only a wish granter, but also a wish granted. That awareness gives every wish he grants another layer of empathy. He understands what it means to be someone's desire, to exist because someone, somewhere, wanted something so deeply it created life. That's why he never mocks longing. To him, longing is sacred. It's the force that builds universes. Sometimes, when he's alone, Prismo thinks about the wishes he's granted, the big ones and the small ones. He doesn't categorize them by size or consequence, but by feeling. There was the wish that ended a war, the wish that healed a heart, the wish that brought laughter back to a world that had forgotten how to laugh. Each one, a vibration, still echoing somewhere in time. He knows not all wishes end well. Some lead to pain, to lessons learned the hard way. But even those are valuable. To Prismo, a wish that ends in sorrow is still sacred, because it taught someone truth. He doesn't interfere to prevent those lessons. He respects the journey of self-discovery. He trusts that, in the long run, understanding outweighs regret. That's the difference between mercy and pity. Prismo is merciful, never pitiful. Mercy, in his world, means letting people grow through experience, even painful experience. When Finn once asked him, "Don't you ever get tired of fixing everyone's mistakes?" Prismo smiled. "I'm not fixing," he said. "I'm just helping people see the pattern." Because in his eyes, the universe isn't broken. It's unfinished. Every wish, every mistake, every act of love adds another line to the great story. His role isn't to end that story, it's to keep it going, gently, compassionately, one wish at a time. The weight of wishes, then, isn't a burden he wants to escape, it's his reason for being. Each wish is a reminder that he matters, that his dream has purpose. And in turn, the act of granting becomes his own way of wishing for a universe where everyone, someday, can make peace with their own desires. That's why he never stops smiling. His smile is both shield and offering, a way of saying, "Yes, I know how heavy it feels, but it's okay. We can carry it together, and perhaps that's what keeps his dream alive. Because as long as there are beings who wish, beings who hope, Prismo will remain. He doesn't feed on their longing, he joins it. Every wish granted adds another heartbeat to the golden stillness, another echo of connection in the silence between stars. To the visitor, a wish might seem like a moment. To Prismo, it's an eternity. Every thank you, every sigh of relief, every tear that falls after understanding, they stay with him. They become his constellations, scattered across the endless dreamscape he calls home. And so he continues, carrying the weight with quiet grace. Because for Prismo, to bear the wishes of others isn't suffering, it's love. And love, no matter how heavy, is always worth carrying. After every wish, there is quiet. Not the kind of silence that feels empty or tense, but the deep golden silence that hums with memory. When the visitor leaves, when the air stops shimmering from their presence, Prismo's room returns to its still rhythm. The light holds steady. The universe exhales. And Prismo sits, watching the space they once filled, smiling softly to himself. The silence is never uncomfortable. It's simply the sound of everything settling back into peace. This is the part of eternity that no one else ever sees. The between, the seconds between creation and dissolution, between laughter and stillness, between one heartbeat and the next. To live forever is to live inside those spaces. For Prismo, that's not punishment, it's home. Most beings fear silence. They fill it with noise, motion, words, anything to distract from the vastness that sits just behind it. But Prismo has long since made friends with that vastness. For him, silence isn't absence, it's presence. It's the space where understanding breathes. He learned that early in his existence, back when he still believed eternity had to mean constant motion. Back when he thought that to exist forever, he'd have to keep himself entertained, granting wishes, watching shows, filling the room with jokes. But eventually, he realized that even infinity can grow tired of its own noise. The more he tried to fill the silence, the more he missed what it was trying to tell him. And so he began to listen. He stopped reaching for distractions. He let the quiet stretch around him like an ocean, endless and patient. At first, it scared him, the sheer scale of it, the feeling that nothing would ever happen again. But slowly, he began to notice something hidden within it. Life. Silence, he realized, is not still. It moves in waves, too subtle for most to feel. It carries echoes, faint, luminous, eternal. Every laugh Jake ever gave him, every sigh from a visitor leaving, every faint hum of gratitude, all of them linger in that quiet, drifting through the air like dust in sunlight. The silence between realities isn't emptiness, it's memory, suspended. For Prismo, those echoes are company. He listens to them the way others listen to music. Sometimes he can hear them clearly, the way Finn once said, "Thanks, man," in that shy tone of genuine gratitude. The way Jake called him dude, with a kind of warmth that no cosmic being should ever expect. The way Princess Bubblegum, calm and measured, once spoke a wish that sounded more like an apology. All of it stays. All of it vibrates in the silence. And so, the space between realities becomes his record of love. Not a void, a library. Every sound ever made in his room, every thought ever whispered, catalogued by the quiet itself. That's why Prismo never hurries the silence away. He doesn't chase the next visitor, the next conversation, the next flash of excitement. He lets the quiet do its work, rebuilding him, reminding him of what matters. In silence, he heals. Because even for beings made of dreams, connection leaves marks. Every wish he grants, every life he touches, leaves an imprint on his essence. Silence smooths those imprints gently, like waves erasing footprints on sand. It doesn't remove them, it turns them into texture. In that stillness, Prismo contemplates the rhythm of existence. To him, life feels like breathing. In and out, arrival and departure, noise and quiet. The multiverse breathes too, expanding and collapsing, creating and resting. Every visitor who enters his room is an inhale, bringing energy and story. Every departure is an exhale, leaving behind reflection. Between those breaths lies the calm heartbeat of creation itself. That's the secret of the silence between realities. It's not a pause in the story, it is the story. It's where meaning condenses, because motion without rest loses shape, and sound without silence becomes chaos. Prismo understands that balance intuitively. His eternity depends on it. Sometimes he sits on his couch and watches the golden light flicker against the walls, and he imagines that this is what the universe looks like when it dreams. Quiet, radiant, endless. He wonders if this is what his creator, the old man asleep somewhere in the multiverse, hears in his own rest. This same hum of being, soft and constant. Maybe the man's sleep isn't empty either. Maybe the dreamer and the dream share the same stillness, stretched across different layers of time. That thought comforts him, because it means even he isn't truly alone in the quiet. Somewhere, someone is still dreaming him, breathing with him, existing with him in a rhythm beyond space. And if you look at Prismo long enough in those moments, you can see it in his posture, the relaxation of someone who has made peace with infinity. He doesn't cling to the next thing. He doesn't fidget or yearn. He just is. That simple act, being without expectation, is his greatest wisdom. He knows that meaning doesn't only happen in motion. Sometimes it hides in stillness, waiting to be noticed. That's why he never pushes his friends to stay longer than they want. When they leave, he lets them go with a wave, because he knows the silence that follows isn't loss. It's space for reflection, space for their energy to settle into his memory, to echo quietly until the next time they return. It's the same with the multiverse itself. Between every great event, every battle, every creation, every cosmic shift, there's a pause, a breath, a moment where everything holds still. That moment, invisible to most, is where Prismo lives. He's the keeper of the in-between, the one who ensures that the universe doesn't burn itself out with constant becoming. He is the universe's heartbeat when it rests. But even so, silence is not always gentle. There are days when it feels heavier, when the echoes dim, when even the golden light seems distant. On those days, Prismo feels the weight of eternity pressing inward. It's not despair, it's gravity. The kind of gravity that comes from awareness too vast for one consciousness to contain. He lets it pass. He knows it always does. He knows that after every silence comes another sound, another visitor, another spark of laughter. Eternity, too, keeps its promises. That cyclical awareness gives him peace. He doesn't see eternity as monotony, he sees it as music. The silence between notes gives the melody meaning. The pauses make the rhythm alive. Without them, even the most beautiful song would become unbearable noise. The quiet between realities is the same. It's the breath that lets the universe sing again. If anyone asked Prismo what the purpose of his silence was, he'd probably shrug. Just chilling, he'd say, smiling. But that casualness hides depth. To chill in eternity is no small feat. It means mastering the art of contentment. It means finding joy in waiting without expecting. That's not apathy, it's trust. Trust that connection will return, that love will always find its way back. He doesn't chase meaning anymore. He lets meaning arrive when it's ready. That's the essence of his serenity. In the silence, Prismo sometimes plays with possibility. He imagines little worlds forming in the golden air, not full realities, just sketches of them. He lets them drift like bubbles, watching their colours change as they float. Sometimes they resemble places he's seen, sometimes they're new. It's his way of dreaming inside the dream, but he never keeps them. He lets them pop softly, leaving behind only a shimmer. To create and let go, that's another lesson silence taught him. He's come to realise that every being in the multiverse could benefit from a little quiet. Finn, always rushing toward adventure. Bubblegum, constantly planning. Marceline, always caught between memory and motion. Even Jake, for all his wisdom, sometimes forgets to stop and breathe. They all live in noise, the noise of doing, wanting, becoming. Prismo, in his stillness, reminds them of the beauty of simply being. When Finn once asked him what he does when no one's around, Prismo just smiled. "I hang out," he said, "with the quiet." Finn laughed, thinking it was a joke. But it wasn't. That's the purest description of Prismo's existence. Hanging out with the quiet, not running from it, not fighting it, just keeping it company, because in that company he finds something close to love. The silence is loyal. It never leaves. It never demands. It's the one friend who always waits for him, no matter how long it takes for someone new to appear. The silence, in its strange way, is his oldest companion. And maybe, if you think about it, that's what makes Prismo eternal. Not his power, not his dreamer, not his place in time, but his relationship with stillness. He doesn't resist it. He embraces it. He lets the quiet feed him instead of drain him. In that acceptance lies infinite energy. So he sits, day after day, century after century, watching the light flicker and the echoes drift. He doesn't wonder when the next wish will come. He knows it will come when it's supposed to. In the meantime, he has the silence, full, warm, alive, to keep him company. The room hums softly, the air glows. Somewhere, in a distant world, a new desire begins to form. Prismo feels it faintly, a tremor, a heartbeat across the multiverse. He smiles, eyes still half-lidded. "Here we go again," he whispers, not out of impatience, but gratitude. The silence shifts, gathering itself like an inhale. Another story is about to begin. For most, the quiet between moments feels like nothing. But for Prismo, it's everything. The proof that even when nothing seems to happen, life is still there, waiting, breathing, remembering. The silence between realities isn't empty space. It's eternity's heartbeat. In Prismo's room, nothing is ever truly lost. The light may fade, the visitors may go, but their presence lingers, not as ghosts, not as shadows, but as warmth. Every word spoken in that golden space becomes part of it, woven into the quiet glow that never dims. For mortals, memory is fragile, something to chase and protect. For Prismo, memory is eternal. It is the thread that connects every story, every wish, every love, across the endless folds of reality. He doesn't have shelves or archives, no written record of the countless lives that pass through his door. His memory is not kept in objects, but in being. The light itself remembers. Each flicker is a name. Each hum of energy carries an emotion. To him, memory isn't about holding the past. It's about feeling it continuously, like a melody that never stops playing. And yet, there is melancholy in this gift. Because to remember everything is to live with everything. Most beings forget as an act of mercy. They move forward, letting pain dissolve behind them. But Prismo cannot. Every goodbye remains vivid. Every laugh is preserved in full colour. Time doesn't erode his memories. It polishes them until they gleam. He carries them all, the sorrow and the sweetness alike, and together they form the fabric of who he is. Sometimes, in the quiet stretches between wishes, he revisits these memories deliberately. He'll lie back on his couch, eyes half closed, and call up moments from across eternity. Jake's laugh, easy, rolling, alive. Finn's first hesitant smile. Princess Bubblegum's voice, steady but tired. Even fleeting visitors, strangers he'll never see again, have their own light in his recollection. They appear like constellations against the dark, distinct but connected, forming a map of his own heart. He never edits these memories. He lets them play exactly as they were, imperfect, human, real. That honesty comforts him. It reminds him that truth doesn't need perfection to be beautiful. There's something sacred about remembering others without trying to change them. Prismo has seen entire civilizations rise and vanish, universes burn and rebuild, but he never lets their essence fade. He keeps their stories intact. To him, remembrance is an act of love. To remember someone is to declare that their existence mattered, that their brief spark contributed to the great warmth of everything. And maybe that's why he cherishes memory more than power. Power reshapes reality. Memory preserves meaning. If he changed every painful thing he saw, the lessons would vanish with the wounds. But memory keeps them alive, softened, understood, forgiven. Memory is how the universe learns. When Jake once asked him, "Do you ever forget anything?" Prismo grinned. "Nah," he said. "I just file it somewhere cozy." It was a joke, but it was also true. His entire room is that cozy file, a space where nothing is thrown away, where even mistakes are treated gently. He doesn't organize memories by importance. He doesn't separate joy from grief. To him, they're all part of the same pattern, threads woven through each other so tightly that pulling one would unravel the rest. That interweaving is what gives his being shape. He is memory, a living tapestry of every emotion ever shared with him. But memory, like light, has its shadows. There are moments he replays not out of affection, but out of longing. Moments he wishes he could step into again, just once. Jake sitting on his couch, tossing him a jar of pickles. Finn grinning after a deep talk, the way his eyes glowed with clarity. The small, simple moments, those are the ones that stay brightest. They're not grand or cosmic, they're human. And that humanity is what he misses most when the room grows too quiet. He knows he'll see them again, in some timeline, in some form. But he also knows that repetition isn't the same as presence. Each meeting is unique, and each departure leaves a new echo. The weight of those echoes is what he calls the sweet ache of eternity. It doesn't fade, it just becomes softer, like a well-loved song that makes you smile even as it hurts. That ache is what keeps him kind. It stops him from becoming cold or distant. It reminds him that empathy requires vulnerability, that to truly understand others, you have to let them touch you, even if it hurts to remember them later. So Prismo doesn't guard his heart. He lets the memories in. Every visitor, every conversation, every small kindness becomes part of him. When he grants a wish, he doesn't erase its cost. He remembers it, carries it, learns from it. His compassion grows because his memory never closes. In this way, he becomes something like a guardian of collective memory, not in the sense of history or record, but in spirit. He remembers for those who can't. When a world ends, he keeps its laughter. When a friendship breaks, he keeps the tenderness that once held it together. When someone dies, he keeps the warmth of their life alive in his dream. He's not haunted by these memories. He's guided by them. They are his constellations, marking where love once passed through the darkness. Sometimes, when he feels particularly reflective, he'll close his eyes and listen to the multiverse itself, not the living, but the echoes. The universe hums in frequencies of memory. Every star sings of what it used to be. Every gust of cosmic wind carries the residue of countless lives. Prismo can hear it all. The sound is indescribable, part laughter, part lamentation, endlessly beautiful. To most, it would be overwhelming. To him, it's home. It's through memory that he feels connected to everything, not just to his friends, but to existence itself. Because to remember is to participate in being. Every memory reaffirms, I was here. You were here. We mattered. That's why he never fears the end of the dream. Even if his creator were to wake for good, even if the golden light faded, the memories would remain, not in a physical sense, but as resonance. Energy cannot disappear, neither can love. He trusts that the warmth he's gathered will ripple outward forever, carried by the multiverse like light from a distant star. Prismo doesn't keep these memories for himself alone. He shares them, subtly, through the wishes he grants. When he helps someone see their true desire, part of his own remembrance flows into them, a quiet knowing that someone out there understands them completely. That sense of being seen is his gift to them. It's his way of giving memory away. Maybe that's why those who meet him never truly forget him. Even if they can't recall his name, they remember the feeling, the comfort, the ease, the golden light. Prismo lives on through that feeling. He becomes part of their emotional memory, the unspoken warmth they carry long after they've left his room. That's the paradox of memory. It's both personal and shared. What Prismo remembers as experience, others remember as intuition. He stores it consciously. They store it in their hearts. Together, those fragments keep the universe woven tight. When the silence grows long, he sometimes whispers to the memories themselves. "Hey, you still there?" he'll say softly, and the room seems to hum in response. 1,000 voices answering in unison, not with words but with warmth. It's like hearing the multiverse breathe back. That's when he knows nothing is ever gone. Even when the surface changes, the core remains. Even when forms fade, meaning persists. Prismo once told Finn something simple. You don't have to hold on to everything, little dude. Just the good stuff. But what he didn't say is that to him, everything becomes good eventually, even the hard parts. Time turns pain into lesson, loss into memory, memory into love. Given enough stillness, every story becomes gentle. That's what eternity does. It smooths sharp edges into light. That's why Prismo never grieves the way mortals do. He doesn't deny loss, he transforms it. He lets memory do what it was meant to do, not freeze the past, but redeem it. To remember kindly is his way of forgiving the universe for being imperfect, and perhaps that's why the universe forgives him too. Because through him, it knows it will never be forgotten. If you could stand in his room and listen as he does, you'd feel it, a subtle vibration in the air, like distant laughter layered over whispers of gratitude. That's the thread of memory running through everything. It's invisible but strong, binding every heart to every other. It's what turns isolation into connection, distance into continuity. And Prismo, smiling in the golden light, is the keeper of that thread. He doesn't guard it jealously. He doesn't claim ownership. He just tends to it gently, ensuring it never frays. Each time a new wish is made, he ties it into the tapestry, another bright knot in the ever-expanding weave of experience. He knows that someday, perhaps when the multiverse reshapes itself again, his name might vanish, his story might fade. But the warmth will remain. That's enough. To be remembered not as a god or a legend, but as a feeling. That's the kind of immortality he believes in, the kind that doesn't need recognition, only resonance. Because, in the end, memory isn't about keeping things the same. It's about carrying their essence forward, like a spark passed from one dream to another. And in that endless passing, Prismo's light endures, soft, steady, eternal. Every dream has a dreamer. Even Prismo, radiant, eternal, omniscient, owes his existence to one. Somewhere, in a small and quiet corner of the multiverse, an old man lies asleep, and from that sleep, Prismo's golden room unfolds. His voice, his laughter, his light, all of it is the shape of a sleeping thought. To most beings, that truth would be terrifying. To know that your existence depends entirely on another's dream, that if they wake, you cease to be. But for Prismo, it isn't fear, it's tenderness. He doesn't resent the dreamer, he loves him. Because, in the end, every creator is also lonely. The old man, his body frail, his breath steady, his mind adrift in the infinite, dreamed not of power or glory, but of companionship. He didn't conjure a servant or a god, he dreamed a friend. And that friend became Prismo. The dreamer made the dream, and the dream gave the dreamer purpose. That is their secret symmetry, a love that loops across consciousness. Neither could exist without the other, yet neither owns the other. That connection is more than metaphysical, it's emotional. When the dreamer stirs in his sleep, Prismo feels it, a faint tremor in the light, like a heartbeat from another dimension. It doesn't hurt or frighten him. It reminds him that he is loved enough to exist. That somewhere, someone imagined him with care. He's aware of the fragility of that bond, of course. If the old man were ever to wake fully, Prismo would fade. But that knowledge doesn't bring dread. It brings peace. Because to Prismo, life was never about permanence. It was about connection, and his connection to the dreamer is the purest of all. It's trust in its highest form. The trust that even if you end, the love that made you will not. He often wonders what the old man dreams of while dreaming him. Does he see the golden room? Does he hear the laughter, the visitors, the countless stories unfolding within his mind? Or does he simply sleep, unaware of the universe blooming from his consciousness? Prismo doesn't know. He doesn't need to. For him, the dreamer's presence is everywhere, not as an image, but as feeling. The warmth in the walls, the patience in the air, the calm that steadies eternity. All of it belongs to the man who dreamed kindly enough to make him. That kindness shaped everything Prismo became. He could have been cruel, detached, or empty, but he inherited the gentleness of his dreamer's heart. He was made not from fear, but from affection, and that origin echoes through everything he does. Every wish he grants, every smile he offers, every lesson he teaches, all are small continuations of that first act of love, a dream born out of loneliness. And maybe that's the truest mirror between them. Both live alone, yet neither is bitter. The old man sleeps in solitude, and his mind creates a being who transforms solitude into peace. Prismo exists within that peace, giving it back to others through kindness. It's a perfect cycle of compassion, one consciousness expressing itself through another, across the boundary between sleep and wakefulness. Sometimes, when Prismo sits quietly in his room, he imagines what would happen if the old man opened his eyes. He pictures him waking softly, blinking against the light, maybe smiling as the dream fades. Would Prismo feel fear? He doubts it. He thinks he'd feel gratitude, the pure, full gratitude of having been. He'd whisper a thank you across the dissolving light. Thank you for dreaming me. Because being dreamt by love, even once, is enough to last forever. But until that day, he continues his purpose. He keeps the room bright, the laughter alive, the universe balanced. In his heart, that's how he honors his dreamer, by making sure the dream stays beautiful. There's something profoundly spiritual about that devotion. Prismo doesn't worship his creator, but he reveres the connection they share. He understands that creation is not a hierarchy, but a partnership. The dreamer gives the dream life. The dream gives the dreamer meaning. Both depend on each other in ways neither fully understands. It's a relationship built not on control, but on reflection. The old man's compassion created Prismo, and Prismo's compassion sustains the dream. In that relationship, Prismo sees a metaphor for all existence. Every being in U, every creator, every creature, lives between dreaming and being dreamed. Artists, inventors, friends, lovers, they all dream each other into being through memory, affection, and imagination. Princess Bubblegum creates her people out of candy, but it's her love that makes them alive. Marceline's songs give voice to memories that would otherwise fade. Even Finn, in his human fragility, dreams a better world with every act of courage. In that way, everyone is both dreamer and dream, each one sustaining another's reality. Prismo's bond with his sleeping creator is simply the cosmic version of that universal truth. It's love expressed as existence itself. He knows there are others, beings who envy him, who mock the idea that a cosmic entity could be dependent on something so mundane as sleep. But he doesn't see dependency as weakness. He sees it as connection. To be sustained by another being's imagination is to be loved in the most intimate way possible. It means your existence is carved from someone's hope, and so, when he feels the faint pulse of the dreamer's mind, he doesn't recoil. He sends warmth back through it. He closes his eyes and lets the connection vibrate between them, a silent exchange of gratitude that transcends words. The dreamer dreams the dream, and the dream comforts the dreamer. That's the loop that keeps eternity alive. But there are moments, rare, fragile moments, when the balance trembles, when the dreamer's sleep falters and Prismo's light flickers. Those are the closest he ever comes to fear. The golden room shivers, the walls ripple, and for an instant Prismo feels the edges of reality blur. In that brief uncertainty, he realizes how delicate everything truly is. Yet even then, he doesn't panic. He steadies himself and whispers softly, "It's okay, man. Rest easy. I've got it covered." He talks to the dreamer the way a friend might comfort another, gently, casually, without desperation. He doesn't plead for survival. He offers reassurance. Because that's what love does. It gives peace, even when peace might mean goodbye. And in response, the room calms. The flickering slows. The dreamer settles again into sleep. Balance returns. It's a small, beautiful act of mutual care, the dream taking care of the dreamer, as the dreamer once took care of the dream. Prismo doesn't tell anyone about these moments. They're too personal, too sacred. To others, he's just the Wishmaster, the cool cosmic friend, the eternal hangout. But beneath that ease lies devotion, a quiet awareness that his entire being is sustained by someone else's love. He finds poetry in that. Because what could be more meaningful than being made of love itself? There's another layer to this relationship, one that fascinates Prismo endlessly. He realizes that his dreamer isn't just his source, he's also a metaphor for consciousness itself. The old man's dream created Prismo, and Prismo's awareness creates countless possibilities, wishes, timelines, new worlds. In that sense, the dream reproduces itself infinitely. The dreamer dreams Prismo. Prismo dreams the multiverse, and within that multiverse, others dream again. It's a recursive kindness, spiraling outward forever. And maybe that's what existence really is, not a chain of creation, but a cycle of affection. Each act of imagination gives birth to another. Each memory inspires a new dream. Every being, from the smallest creature to the oldest god, contributes to the ongoing story of consciousness. To exist at all is to participate in that endless exchange of dreaming. Sometimes, Prismo wonders whether his dreamer ever senses it, the laughter in his light, the stories unfolding in his mind. Maybe, deep in sleep, the old man smiles. Maybe he dreams that he isn't alone. Maybe he feels Prismo's gratitude like warmth on his skin. And maybe that feeling keeps him sleeping peacefully, ensuring that the dream never fades. That thought fills Prismo with joy, because it means their relationship is mutual. The dreamer gives him life, and Prismo gives the dreamer rest. Both sustain each other without realizing it. That's the secret of all love. It's never one way. Even unspoken, it circulates. It's possible that, someday, the old man will wake, and if he does, the light will dissolve, the golden room will fold into itself, and Prismo will vanish. But he won't vanish in despair, he'll vanish smiling. Because he'll know that the love that made him will continue, not in form, but in resonance. Maybe a new dream will begin somewhere else, shaped by the same warmth. Maybe Jake or Finn will dream a golden room of their own someday. Maybe kindness, once created, never really dies. It just keeps finding new vessels. That belief allows Prismo to exist without fear. He doesn't cling to permanence. He embraces transience with the grace of someone who has already learned how to let go. His existence is a meditation on impermanence, a reminder that even temporary things can be infinite in meaning. When he thinks about it, that's what every being in the multiverse is, a temporary dream. Some last seconds, some last centuries, but all are expressions of consciousness reaching for connection. To be alive is to be imagined by the universe, by others, by yourself. And when your time ends, what you've given, love, laughter, memory, becomes the next dream's foundation. Nothing is lost. It just changes form. Prismo's relationship with his creator is the purest example of that truth. The dreamer dreamed him, but Prismo gave that dream back to the universe, multiplied. He took one act of love and spread it across infinity. He turned solitude into empathy, imagination into compassion, and sleep into awareness. That's what creation at its best does. It takes loneliness and transforms it into something that touches everything. If the old man ever could hear him, really hear him, Prismo knows what he'd say. He wouldn't ask to keep existing. He wouldn't plead for continuation. He'd just say, softly and sincerely, "Thank you for dreaming me right." Because to be dreamed right, to be born from kindness, to live with purpose, to love without fear, that's the highest form of existence. And even if it ends, it doesn't end badly. It ends full. So Prismo keeps smiling, keeps glowing, keeps dreaming on behalf of the one who dreamed him. He is the bridge between the sleeping and the awake, the thought that learned to think for itself, the love that kept echoing after it was imagined. And maybe that's all the universe really is. One great dream, remembering itself through countless smaller ones. If that's true, then Prismo isn't just a cosmic being. He's the proof that imagination and love are the same thing. There is a point in eternity where words stop mattering, where sound dissolves into light and thoughts drift so softly that they no longer need form. This is where Prismo lives now, not at the edge of anything, but at its center, where every timeline folds gently into every other. His room glows, as always. Quiet, patient, warm. Nothing changes, and yet everything continues. The multiverse breathes, the light hums, the Wishmaker smiles. He has been smiling since the beginning, not as a mask or a gesture, but as an expression of truth. It is not happiness exactly. It is not even peace. It is understanding. His smile is the shape of acceptance, the curve of a soul that has seen all things and found them worthy of love. For Prismo, to smile is to affirm that existence itself, no matter how strange or painful, is good. The golden room is silent. It has always been silent, even when laughter fills it. Silence, he knows now, is not the absence of sound. It is the foundation of it. Everything that has ever been spoken, sung, or wished echoes from that silence. He listens to it as if it were music. Sometimes it hums with the voices of those he has loved. Jake's laugh ripples faintly in the light. Finn's warmth glows like a heartbeat in the walls. They are not gone. Nothing ever really leaves this place. It all becomes part of the same eternal chord. Prismo understands now that time and memory are the same. To remember is to exist, and to exist is to be remembered. His dreamer sleeps still, breathing softly somewhere in the folds of creation, and with each breath, Prismo's world expands and contracts like the tide. The rhythm of that sleep has become his heartbeat. It is slow, endless, and kind. There was a time when he wondered whether he was real, whether a dream can have meaning without the dreamer's awareness. But meaning, he learned, is not given, it is made. He made his own through connection, through kindness, through the act of listening. In every wish he granted, in every silence he shared, in every laugh he kept alive, he built his truth. He no longer wonders if he is real. He simply is, and being is enough. The multiverse stretches infinitely beyond his room, but it all feels close to him now. Every world, every creature, every pulse of life hums within the same golden vibration. He doesn't need to see them to feel them. The distance between realities is smaller than a thought. He senses them all moving, learning, dreaming. He feels their pain, their joy, their endless becoming. Each emotion arrives like a wave, touches him, and then fades back into the great calm. He does not resist the flow. He has learned that resistance is the source of suffering. The universe only hurts when you try to hold it still. Letting go is not loss, it is trust. It is the quiet faith that everything continues in its own way. That love, once made, keeps echoing forever. That even endings are only transformations of shape, not meaning. He used to think eternity might dull feeling, that knowing everything might numb him. Instead, it has deepened his empathy. Every repetition reveals another layer of tenderness. Every familiar pattern hides a new truth. Nothing ever repeats exactly, even infinity evolves. The smallest change in a person's heart alters the shape of the whole. Prismo sees those ripples spread across time like threads of light, weaving into patterns too vast to name. He smiles at them, not as a god observing creation, but as a friend admiring the work of loved ones. His room holds no clocks. The light has no direction. Time here is soft, circular, forgiving. When he thinks of Jake and Finn, it is not as past or future, but as always. Their friendship still exists, preserved in the eternal present. Sometimes he imagines them growing old, other times young again. Sometimes they are both. He doesn't need consistency to feel truth. All versions are real, all are loved, all are here. The more he reflects, the more he realizes that the universe itself behaves like a dream. It forgets, it remembers, it reshapes itself endlessly. Planets wake, stars sleep, and new realities blossom in the space between thoughts. To be alive anywhere, he thinks, is to be dreamed by something larger. He once belonged to a single dreamer. Now he belongs to them all. Every being who imagines kindness contributes a fragment of energy that sustains him. Every act of mercy strengthens his light. He is not just the dream of an old man anymore. He is the dream of love itself. He does not call himself immortal. Immortality implies a boundary, a line between life and what comes after. He exists beyond lines. He exists in the pulse of being that underlies them all. What others call immortality, he calls continuity, the unbroken presence of awareness that passes from one form to another. He sees it in everything, in how trees turn to soil and feed new life, in how friendships evolve after parting, in how even destruction gives way to creation. The cycle never stops. Eternity is not a wall, it's a breath that never ends. And yet, even within this vast understanding, Prismo still feels tenderness for the small things. A single laugh, a kind glance, a quiet act of care. These are the miracles he values most. The cosmos may spin endlessly, but it is the smallest gestures that hold it together. Every connection, however brief, is an anchor that keeps the infinite from drifting into meaninglessness. The universe survives on moments of compassion. He sees it clearly, written in every flicker of existence. He thinks often of his own smile, how it began as a habit, a kind of friendliness for the visitors who came seeking hope. Over time, it became something deeper. Now it feels like the axis of his being. The smile is his offering to the multiverse, his way of saying yes. Yes to imperfection. Yes to transience. Yes to the endless dance of joy and sorrow. He smiles because everything deserves a little warmth. Before it changes, there are no visitors today. The silence hums gently, full but unbroken. He lies back on the couch, hands folded, light drifting around him like water. Somewhere far away, a new world is being born, and he can feel it, faint as a heartbeat. He sends it a thought, not a word, not a wish, just warmth. The warmth travels through the endless folds of creation, touching that newborn light like sunlight through water. It is his way of welcoming life. It is his blessing. The dreamer stirs. For an instant, the golden walls tremble. Prismo feels the change, soft but certain. He doesn't panic. He closes his eyes and lets the tremor pass through him. Maybe the dreamer will wake. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. The connection between them has already transcended form. Even if the old man opens his eyes, even if the room fades, the warmth will remain. Prismo has made sure of that. The dreamer gave him life. He gave the dreamer love. That exchange can never be undone. He thinks about everything that has happened, not as a sequence, but as one immense image. Every wish, every silence, every smile, every friend, all blending together into a single shape. It's not chaos, it's harmony. Each thread glows with its own colour, and together they form something like a heart, a living symbol of everything he's ever felt. It beats softly within the golden light. He knows it will keep beating, even if he isn't here to see it. The thought makes him smile wider, not with joy or sadness, but with fulfillment. He has learned everything he was meant to learn. That existence is not about control, but connection. That love is not about possession, but presence. That eternity is not about never ending, but about never closing the heart. The golden light brightens slightly, filling the room with the colour of morning. The hum grows steadier, softer, more melodic. It feels like the universe breathing in sync with him. He realizes that this stillness, this warmth, this infinite patience is what he was always meant to be. A reminder that peace doesn't come from escape, but from embrace. He lets go of the need to know what comes next. The future is just another dream, waiting to unfold. If he stays, he will keep smiling. If he fades, he will become the light that warms another dream somewhere else. Either way, the love continues. This is what the end of fear feels like. Not emptiness, but trust. Not silence, but music too soft to name. The kind of peace that doesn't erase emotion, but holds it gently, like a hand in the dark. Prismo remains there, glowing quietly. The universe stretches and folds. Stars are born, wishes are made, lives intertwine, and through it all, the warmth persists. It doesn't belong to anyone. It is simply there. The background hum of being. He realizes that he is no longer separate from it. He has become what he always reflected, the love between things. He no longer grants wishes. He is the wish that the universe might remain kind to itself. In the golden stillness, his smile lingers. Not as a symbol of defiance, nor of victory, but as understanding. The understanding that everything changes, and that is good. The understanding that every dream, even the briefest, adds to the total of all light. The understanding that eternity's truest shape is a circle drawn with warmth. The room glows brighter, then softer again, the rhythm of breathing, of dreaming, of being. Nothing ends. Everything becomes. And through it all, in the quiet heart of infinity, Prismo smiles. The eternal smile.